I'm Dr. Murli Manohar, instructor at the Dow Institute of Radiology. Today I'm going to have a discussion with you guys regarding the recognition of normal and abnormal GIT structures on radiology. So what are the modalities that are available to view the GIT structures? This is the list of the modalities that we have. Normally we start with planar abdominal X-rays. Then we have X-rays with contrast of the abdomen, and then we have ultrasound abdomen, and then we have CT scan, which is the computed tomography of the abdomen. Then we do the magnetic resonance imaging of the abdomen to look for any GI pathologies, and then we have interventional method including the endoscopic retrograde cholecystectomy, ERCP, which is basically same as that contrast X-ray film, but the difference is that we have intervention in this. The intervention is the endoscope. We do the cholecystectomy via endoscopy. So starting with the plain abdominal X-rays, this is the normal X-ray abdomen demonstrating normal bowel pattern. Here you have the large colon outlined with red color, demonstrating the cecum ascending colon. This is hepatic flexure, this is transverse colon, this is splenic flexure, this is descending colon, this is sigmoid colon, and the rectum. This is a spine that is outlined in dotted red dots, demonstrating the mild scoliosis curvature of the lumbar spine towards the left side. Centrally we have small bowel loops, and peripherally we have large bowel loop. So how do we recognize large and small bowel loop on plain X-ray? Is one thing is with the placement. The large bowel is placed peripherally and the small bowel is placed centrally. And again you can see another normal abdominal X-ray demonstrating normal anatomy, including cecum, ascending colon, hepatic flexure, transverse colon, splenic flexure, descending colon, then the sigmoid colon. This is the shadow of the air within the stomach. So now coming to the abnormal ultrasound X-ray abdomen, here you can see dilated small and large bowel loops with air within the lumen as well as outside the lumen of the bowel, demonstrating the bowel wall very beautifully. This is called regular sign. This is seen in cases of air outside the bowel lumen is called pneumoperitoneum. So this is a case of acute abdomen with pneumoperitoneum. Now, how to differentiate between the small and large bowel loops is that small bowel loops are usually less than 3 cm in diameter. If more than 3 cm in diameter, they are abnormal. They are, and second thing is the small bowel loops are centrally placed. Another thing is that they have valvuli conventives. Here you can see these valvuli conventives throughout the bowel. And the large bowel has hausturations. These are hausturations. These are incomplete bowel walls thickening called hausturations. Abnormal bowel, large bowel is considered when its diameter is more than 6 cm or 5 cm. Some say 5, some say 6. And large bowel is peripherally placed. So again, small bowel less than 3 cm is normal, centrally placed. There are presence of valvuli conventives, and it's well seen when it's dilated. Similarly, large bowel usually less than 5 centimeter, except for cecum, which can be as big as the standard is up to 9 centimeter. And the location of large bowel is periphery, and there is presence of rostrations. Here we have valvular conveyances, and here we have rostrations. Then it's also well visualized when it's dilated. So, plain abdominal radiograph demonstrating centrally placed dilated small bowel loops demonstrating multiple valvular conveyances with stack of coin appearance. These dilated bowel loops with staged valvular conveyances are demonstrating a stack of coin appearance. So this is a case of small bowel dilatation. Then we have large bowel, another example demonstrating large bowel loop. This is cecum, this is ascending colon, this is hepatic flexure, this is transverse colon, this is splenic flexure, this is descending colon, and this is sigmoid colon. So there are rostrations seen. Here you can see these rostrations. These are incomplete bowel wall thickenings going through. And bowel is dilated, so this is a case of large bowel obstruction. And it's peripherally placed. So another thing that we see in the plain X-ray of abdomen is the bowel wall thickening. It can sometimes be very beautifully demonstrated on plain abdominal X-rays with appearance of thumb printing, just like these thumbs. Thumb printing. Bowel, the rostrations of the bowel become thickened, edematous, resulting in this thumb imprinting. So here we have abdominal X-ray demonstrating thick walled large bowel loop to the left of midline, that is descending colon, with thickened rostrations giving thumb printing appearance. So this thumb printing is usually seen in any infectious inflammatory etiology of the bowel, large bowel. So here again the thumb printing is demonstrated. There are thickened rostrations with thickened irregular walls. So now from the plain abdominal X-rays we are going to the X-rays with the contrast. In the X-rays with contrast we have barium swallow, we have barium meal, we have barium meal follow through, we have barium anemia. So starting with barium meal, for barium swallow, this is the normal barium swallow examination. This is AP projection, this is lateral projection, this is again AP projection. This AP projection is called single contrast because we only have barium in the pharynx and esophagus, and this one is demonstrating air. This black is air and this white is contrast, barium contrast. So this is called double contrast. Okay, demonstrating normal anatomy. This again the barium swallow examination demonstrating the esophagus. This is the gastroesophageal junction and the stomach. Okay, here we have anatomical structures outline. This is called pharynx, and this is trachea. The white. This is inverted barium swallow examination. The previous one was in here we have barium in white color, but here we have barium in black color. This is inverted barium swallow examination, demonstrating the pharynx. This is the mouth, and this pharynx. Then the cervical esophagus, and then we have this white area. This is trachea, and this is aortic arch shadow of the aortic arch. Okay, This is there is an indentation over the esophagus, upper cervical esophagus, by the cleptopharyngeal muscle inferiorly that defines the boundary between the pharynx and the esophagus. So this is again barium swallow examination demonstrating the dorsal esophagus with indentation along its aortic arch level, indentation at the left atrial level. This is diaphragm that is indenting the near the gastroesophageal junction. This is a hiatus, esophageal hiatus. Okay, now that was the normal anatomy, and now here we have abnormal anatomy. See the normal contour of the esophagus. This is smooth, so smooth structure, not dilated, showing the barium within it. This is abnormal barium swallow examination, single contrast study, because we only have contrast over here, no air outlining the bowel, esophagus. So we have this contrast-filled dilated esophagus that has irregularities. These irregularities are because of tertiary non-propulsive contractions, and this is and there is a funneling at the distal esophagus. So this is a case of achalasia, also called achalasia cardia, because it's seen at the cardiac end. So another barium swallow single contrast study demonstrating a large outpouching from the posterior aspect of the upper cervical esophagus that usually seen at the dehiscence called Killian's dehiscence in the upper cervical esophagus, representing Zenkus diverticulum. Now, from the barium swallow examination, now we move towards the barium meal study. This is the barium meal study, which is part of the abdominal X-ray with contrast. This is contrast, and we have done the X-rays with given the oral contrast. So this is contrast outlining the fundus of the stomach. This is erect position, supine position. The patient is in supine position, and we given the contrast, and the patient is lying, and we have taken the X-ray. This is contrast pulling at the fundus due to gravity. Then we have this air and contrast outlining the lumen. Lumen is optimally distended, and this is body of the stomach, and this is the antrum. This is called this depression at the junction of the body and antrum is called incisura ingularis. So this is a normal anatomy of the stomach demonstrated by barium meal double contrast study. Why it is double contrast? Because there is contrast, barium contrast, as well as there is air within the lumen. So both are producing its own impact on the imaging, so resulting in double contrast examination. So another barium meal examination double contrast study. This is abnormal study. This is demonstrating the gastric rugae. This is normal gastric rugae, normal anatomy of the mucosa of the stomach, and here we have contrast pulling along the greater curvature inferiorly. This contrast pulling is because of the malignant gastric ulcer. There is a tumor in the greater curvature that has an ulcer within it, and that ulcer results in the pulling of the contrast. So another example of barium meal examination with double contrast demonstrating this is air in the fundus, and again this is double contrast. The lumen is outlined by the contrast as well the air, and then this is small pooling of contrast with surrounding striations. This is also an example of gastric ulcer. Gastric ulcer can be malignant, can be benign. So usually we see the benign ulcers, but malignancy like tumors can also slough off and produce ulcers, just like previous examination. So now from the barium meal, we are moving towards the barium meal and follow-through examination. Here you can see the normal anatomy of the stomach. This is the duodenum. These are the jejunal loops. Jejunal loops give feathery appearance because of their plica circularis, and which is less pronounced in the ileum. Normal anatomy bowel seen on barium meal from stomach towards the ileum. So this is another normal examination of the barium meal follow-through, demonstrating stomach. This is duodenal cap. This is duodenum. These are the jejunal loops with feathery appearance. These are typical classical feathery appearance that are seen in barium meal follow-through examination. And this is jejunal. These are the jejunal loops with less of this feathery appearance. So another normal examination of the barium meal follow-through, demonstrating the stomach, duodenum, and these are the jejunal loops, and these are the ileal loops. This is a perfect examination of normal feathery appearance of the jejunum and with less feathery appearance of the ileum.
भैया यार ये हमारे कान किसने ले लिए यार? ऐसा नहीं करो, हमारे कान तो दे दो भाई।
Okay, this is another normal examination. This is called barium anemia double contrast study. The contrast is given through the anal canal, and this is demonstrating the air as well as contrast within the lumen. So this is also called double contrast study. This is demonstrating normal rectum, sigmoid colon, and this is descending colon. This is splenic flexure. This is transverse colon, and this is hepatic flexure. This is ascending colon and cecum. So now coming to the abnormal examinations. So this is barium anemia double contrast study, demonstrating multiple, at least two segments of bowel narrowing, here, one here and another one here, representing the bowel strictures with mucosal irregularity and puckering along the sigmoid colon. So multifocal segmental discontinuous lesions in the bowel is typically seen in cases of Crohn's disease, which is one of the inflammatory bowel disease, with its factor including ulcerative colitis. So moving towards another example, this is also barium anemia examination, single contrast study, demonstrating this is cecum, this is ileocecal junction, this is terminal ileum. This terminal ileum is demonstrating multiple filling defects, giving cobblestoning appearance, which is also seen in inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's disease. So another abnormal barium anemia examination, demonstrating focused at the sigmoid colon, demonstrating multiple contrast filled out pouching arising from the walls of the sigmoid colon, representing sigmoid diverticulosis. Few diverticula also noted involving the descending colon as well. Another example of abnormal example of barium anemia, double contrast study. Here you can see this is normal anatomy of the terminal ileum, and this is cecum, this is ascending colon, this is hepatic flexure, this is transverse colon, this is splenic flexure, this is descending colon, and this is sigmoid colon. Here you can see you are not able to appreciate any of the haustra. No haustration is seen in it. So this is featureless appearance of the large bowel. Featureless appearance means loss of haustrations, giving the lead pipe appearance. So this is an example of the ulcerative colitis. So moving further, we have another example of abnormal barium anemia demonstrating a large segment of luminal narrowing of the descending colon. Here we have contrast with shouldering of contrast before and after the lesion. There is luminal narrowing with irregularity, and contrast shouldering before. Here we have shouldering of the contrast before the lesion, and then again at the end of the lesion we have shouldering of this contrast. So this is called apple core appearance, just like an eaten apple with its core remainder. This is the apple core appearance. So this is seen in cases of CA colon, carcinoma of the colon, neoplastic disease of the colon, which results in luminal narrowing and wall thickening and irregularity. So from the X-rays, contrast X-rays, we are moving towards the ultrasound. Normal ultrasound of the this is normal ultrasound of the pancreas. They were demonstrating the head, body, and the tail of the pancreas. This is superior mesenteric artery. This is aorta. This is inferior vena cava. This is vertebral body. This is left lobe of the liver. These are fat and subcutaneous tissues of the abdominal bone. So this is a normal ultrasound image of the pancreas. So this is a normal ultrasound image of the gallbladder, demonstrating its fundus, the body, and this is the neck. This is normal anatomy of the liver, demonstrating hepatic veins. Here, this is inferior vena cava. This is right hepatic vein. This is middle hepatic vein. This is left hepatic vein. And similarly, we have segments in between, segments of the liver, from 1 to 8 segments of the liver. Again, this is same anatomy, demonstrating different segments of the liver. So this is anatomy, normal anatomic sonographic image of the appendix, demonstrating the mucosa, the submucosa, the muscularis propria, and the sclerosa. This is longitudinal image, and this one is transverse image of the appendix, demonstrating the same anatomy. So now coming to the abnormal examples of the ultrasound abdomen. This is liver, demonstrating multiple echogenic lesions in the right lobe of liver, suggestive of metastasis. So this is another abnormal examination, demonstrating the gallbladder with multiple echogenic foci in its lumen, representing cholelithiasis. Another example, demonstrating multiple hypoechoic liver lesions in right lobe. And this is another abnormal example, demonstrating gallbladder with multiple septations, representing septated gallbladder. Another example, demonstrating multiple echogenic foci within the lumen of the gallbladder, representing cholelithiasis. Another example of solitary cholelithiasis in the gallbladder. So this is another abnormal example of the appendix. This is dilated appendix with this surrounding free fluid and thickened echogenic white mesentery representing acute appendicitis. So from the ultrasound, we are moving towards the CT scan. This is the CT scan abdomen axial images with contrast, demonstrating the normal anatomy of the abdomen. This is liver, this is spleen, this is kidney, this is aorta, inferior vena cava, this is portal vein, this is pancreas, and this is stomach, this is colon. This similar anatomy is demonstrated here as well. This is the stomach, this is colon, this is the crust of the diaphragm, the right crust and the left crust. So again, another example of a normal anatomy demonstrating the rectum, sigmoid colon, descending colon, ascending colon, cecum, then the transverse colon. Another example of normal anatomy of CT scan abdomen with contrast coronal images demonstrating cecum, sigmoid colon, hepatic flexure, ascending colon. This is splenic flexure, and then we have the descending colon. So now coming towards the abnormal CT scan of the abdomen. So here you have multiple enhancing liver lesions, and here you have multiple hypodense non-enhancing liver lesions. So these hyper-enhancing liver lesions are seen in cases of chronic liver disease with multicentric hepatoma or any hypervascular metastasis like carcinoid renal cell carcinoma. And these hypodense lesions are usually from the ovarian or other gastrointestinal malignancy. And this is plain CT scan abdomen demonstrating axial image demonstrating lobulated calcification in the right lobe of liver. This is a case of multicentric hepatocellular carcinoma demonstrating a large mass within the left lobe, making multiple liver lesions that are confluent to make a large nodal mass or large mass. So from the CT scan we are moving towards the MRI. So this is MRI, the maximum intensity projection taken from the magnetic resonance cholangiopancreatography MRCP examination. MRCP is part of MRI modality, and that is demonstrating the normal anatomy of the pancreatobiliary system. This is right hepatic duct, this is left hepatic duct, this is common hepatic duct, this is cystic duct, this is gallbladder, and this is common bile duct, this is pancreatic duct and the sphincter of the Oddi, and this is the duodenum, ceiling of the duodenum. This is normal anatomy. Now we have abnormal MRI image of the abdomen demonstrating a large rounded filling defect in the distal common bile duct associated with mild proximal dilatation of the common bile duct representing cholelithiasis or the stone or the calculi in the common bile duct. This is normal anatomy of the gallbladder. Now from the MRI we are moving towards the ERCP examination, endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography and examination, which is similar as that of contrast X-ray, but with intervention of the endoscope. It's done by the gastroenterologist. They perform the endoscopy and then do the cholangiopancreatography via cannulating the sphincter of the Oddi, then give the contrast So this is the common bile duct, normal anatomy of the common bile duct. This is the right hepatic duct, this is left hepatic duct. These are the multiple branches in the left intrahepatic biliary ducts. This is cystic duct, this is gallbladder, and this is endoscope. Now coming towards the abnormal examination, here we have ERCP with endoscope demonstrating the intrahepatic, the right and the left hepatic intrahepatic biliary ducts. This is common hepatic duct demonstrating multiple filling defects in its lumen, representing cholelithiasis or the calculi in the common hepatic duct. Here we have calculus in the common bile duct as well, because common bile duct starts where the cystic duct enters the meets with the common hepatic duct. So another abnormal example demonstrating the filling defects in the common hepatic duct as well as in the common bile duct. Another example demonstrating the filling defect within the cystic duct. Okay, I think we are done. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Hello. Hello.